You possess quite the handsome appearance. Don't you think? The words fell with the weight of a dropped wrench in a vacant hallway, jarring, unforeseen, and utterly impossible to overlook. Tyrone Jackson halted abruptly, the flathead screwdriver poised between his fingers. The overhead bedroom light flickered back to life, emitting a gentle hum accompanied by a warm amber glow. He glanced up from his work, momentarily taken aback as he locked eyes with the woman who was casually leaning against the doorway. Tyrone Jackson, 32, stood barefoot, adorned in a soft blue dress that gracefully embraced her silhouette with an air of effortless elegance. Her arms rested loosely crossed, yet her expression remained enigmatic. Malick adjusted his posture. "Thank you," he replied, his voice tinged with a mix of surprise and skepticism. This was not the first occasion on which a client had expressed admiration for his work. Yet this instance felt distinctly unique. Her tone lacked flirtation. It was not a matter of teasing. It was straightforward and sincere, resembling a declaration rather than a mere phrase. That disrupted him more than anything else. He cleaned his hands on the rag attached to his tool belt and took a step back from the light switch. The problem stemmed from a loose ground connection, attributed to the age of the house and its wiring. "I have replaced the terminal and incorporated a surge stabilizer. The flickering should no longer be visible," Maya acknowledged with a single nod, yet remained still. "That is satisfactory. A rhythm. Your explanations consistently reflect a calm and professional demeanor, as if you have mastered this skill over a lifetime." "I suppose," Malick responded, meticulously winding the aged wiring into a plastic bag. "Clarity is essential, particularly when it involves another person's residence." That brought a smile to her face. "Neither wide nor bright, yet it possesses a subtle, approving quality." The ensuing silence was not awkward, rather, it was laden with an unspoken tension. Maya finally straightened and entered the room, her footsteps silent against the dark hardwood floor. "Are you available for lunch?" Malick blinked slowly. "Shall we discuss lunch?" "A quaint spot located just 2 blocks away. They serve an exceptional smoked turkey club. This is on me." He paused momentarily. All aspects of his upbringing, his strong work ethic, and his inherent caution urged him to decline. It is essential to maintain personal boundaries with clients at all times. It is essential to maintain clear boundaries, particularly when considering a client who resides in a home featuring a 3-car garage and a driveway that extends longer than the block of their childhood. She remained there, patiently waiting, neither pushing nor pleading, simply inquiring. "Thank you for the offer, but I have another commitment in an hour," he stated, a blend of deception and reality. While his upcoming task wasn't pressing, his unease certainly was. Maya inclined her head, observing him, driven not by judgment but by a sense of curiosity. "We can revisit this at another time. Perhaps." She reached out her hand, catching him off guard once more. "Thank you for the resolution, Malick." He gave it a vigorous shake. Her palm radiated warmth, and her grip was resolute. It was far from the refined handshake of a socialite that he had anticipated. As he gathered his child's belongings and exited the room, he sensed her gaze lingering on him, neither in a predatory manner nor in a flirtatious tone. Simply attentive and engaged. It's akin to the experience of viewing a documentary and encountering something genuine for the very first time. Malick's truck roared to life, the air conditioning struggling against the relentless North Carolina sun. He distanced himself from the mansion, the name Williams resonating in his mind like an indelible mark. As he merged onto Providence Road, he found himself glancing at the rearview mirror, uncertain of the reason behind it. She certainly wasn't going to rush out after him. As he arrived at the driveway of his next client, a modest single-story ranch characterized by peeling paint and a broken front step, he had largely managed to put the previous encounter behind him, for the most part. As he reached for his phone to document the job, a notification caught his eye from an unfamiliar number. The preview stated, "This is Maya. Should you reconsider your decision?" He chose not to open the message immediately. He placed the phone in his pocket and returned to his tasks. Tyrone Jackson was not a man given to flights of fancy. Raised by a dedicated single mother who balanced 2 jobs while also imparting practical skills, He learned to solder copper piping by the age of 10. He had a strong conviction in the importance of reality, consistently arriving early, meticulously verifying the voltage, and ensuring tasks were completed correctly on the first attempt. His hands remained steady, his mind was sharply focused, and his heart, well, it kept itself in the background. However, there was something about Maya's voice, her candid gaze, and the simplicity with which she uttered those 5 words that shattered something within. A subtle fracture in the armor he donned each day. That evening, he reclined on the couch in his unassuming apartment situated above a barber shop. The city's hum softened by the age-worn windows. He revisited his messages once more. Maya's name remained, merely her first name, just 7 words. He clicked on reply, hesitated, deleted his message, attempted once more, and then let out a sigh. Perhaps it was merely a lunch. It's possible that it was something entirely different. However, Tyrone Jackson had consistently exercised caution. He had not endured this long by mistaking kindness for anything beyond its true nature. He switched off the phone, turned over, and resolved to let it go. However, he was not ready to do so. At least not at this moment. 3 days have elapsed. Malick had not responded to Maya's message. Not due to a lack of desire, but rather because he was uncertain of how to articulate his thoughts. Each time he glanced at her name on the screen, his thumb lingered, faltered, and then retreated. What might he express? Was he feeling flattered that he had not ceased to think about her? He was a man with calloused hands and scuffed boots, seemingly out of place in a woman's world adorned with art and a meticulously climate-controlled wine rack. On Friday afternoon, the second message arrived. The Smoked Turkey Club remains available on the menu. Tomorrow at noon, I will be driving. This time, she refrained from asking. She extended the invitation, confident and direct, just as she had in the past. Malick gazed at the message for an extended moment. Positioned in the supply aisle of Bailey's Hardware, the hum of fluorescent lights overhead, the aroma of freshly cut wood and machine oil enveloping him, all sensations vivid, all elements tangible. He quickly typed back, "Okay, drop a pin," and hit send before he had the chance to reconsider. Saturday came around all too quickly. Malick positioned himself outside the quaint hardware store located on 4th Street. Attired in a sharp gray button-up shirt and dark jeans. Neither overly formal nor too relaxed. Simply polished and appropriate. The sun shone brightly over Carolina. Yet the air remained pleasantly mild. He straightened his collar, wiped the anxious sweat from his palms, and prepared to wait. At precisely 12:02, a silver Audi A7 entered the parking lot. Streamlined, serene, refined, Maya emerged once more, her bare feet gracing the ground, adorned in a flowing blue dress. It's not identical to the previous one, but it's quite similar. Her hair was elegantly pinned up, with soft tendrils cascading gently around her cheeks. Malick stood tall. "Do you consistently appear without shoes?" She let out a laugh. "It is only when I strive to maintain authenticity." They navigated out of the city, passing by lines of brick storefronts and time-worn neighborhoods. Heading towards the hills, she refrained from playing music. Allow the gentle breeze to flow through the slightly ajar window. Fresh and soothing, they navigated past a collection of historic churches, a weathered barn, and a solitary yellow school bus stationed in an unoccupied lot. "I know a place," Maya remarked, simple yet serene. 20 minutes later, they veered off a gravel road into a spacious clearing nestled among towering pines. A slender river meandered just past the tree line, while a picnic table rested in the cool shade of a venerable oak tree. There was no one else to be seen. Malick emerged first, surveying the area as if he were inspecting a fuse box. Prudent, reserved, attentive, Maya picked up a brown paper bag from the back seat and proceeded forward. Her bare toes gently grazing the grass beneath her. They took their seats. They remained silent for an extended period. They simply unwrapped their sandwiches and began to chew. Turkey paired with cranberry, complemented by aioli, all served on toasted sourdough. She was correct, it truly was an excellent sandwich. At last, Maya shattered the stillness. "Do you believe I come across as unusual?" Malick gazed at her, taken aback. Could you please clarify? I just invited a stranger to join me for lunch. Transported him to the woods. Without shoes. He offered a smile. You are not unusual. Your presence is surprising. She inclined her head. Could that be considered a compliment? It can feel that way when you've experienced a significant portion of your life in silence. That left her momentarily speechless. I make it a point to acknowledge everyone around me. I observed. They sat once more in silence. Yet this time it carried a different quality. A sense of lightness. A bridge had emerged. Still fragile, yet undeniably present. Maya set her sandwich aside and brushed off her fingers. As a child, I frequently visited this place. My grandmother used to take me along. She remarked that the sound of the water had the power to cleanse one of the burdens imposed by others. Malick nodded, observing the river gracefully flow over the stones. A wise individual, she was indeed, provided me with more guidance than my parents did. He sought no further inquiries, he allowed the silence to respond. After some time, Maya reclined on her hands. Her eyes shut, her face turned toward the sky. What I appreciate about you is quite remarkable. I offer my services at a competitive rate. She let out a soft chuckle. Please refrain from inquiring about my house, my car, or my profession. It appears that you are not particularly impressed. I learned early on that it is inappropriate to gaze at things that are not mine. She slowly opened her eyes. What if it indeed does? Malick locked eyes with her, yet remained silent. It wasn't that he lacked a thought, rather. Her question transcended ownership and delved into the realm of worth. The light transformed, and a subtle chill enveloped the air. A gentle breeze stirred the oak branches overhead. I should go, Malick said softly. Maya remained still. Are you willing to do so? He rose gradually, delicately removing crumbs from his trousers. If you request my presence, I will not comply. Her smile was modest yet unwavering. In that case, please remain. Indeed, he did. They remained beneath the tree as the shadows lengthened and the chill of the wind set in. The conversation meandered through a variety of topics, touching on favorite snacks, challenging customers, and nostalgic childhood injuries. It lacked romance. It wasn't premeditated, but it was genuine, for a man who had dedicated much of his adult life to the safety of schedules, tools, and caution. This moment felt like the dawn of an unexpected necessity. That evening, Malick chose not to return home immediately. He drove without direction for some time, passing the diner where his mother once worked, the corner where he was attacked at 15, and the high school that had long forgotten his name. He finally maneuvered into the small parking lot behind his apartment and switched off the engine. His phone vibrated with a message. Maya. Next time, please bring the sandwiches. He allowed himself a small smile. For the first time in quite some time, Tyrone Jackson allowed himself to embrace hope. The subsequent week progressed at a sluggish pace. Malick occupied himself with tasks such as replacing outlets and resetting breakers. A full day dedicated to rewiring a ranch house in Monroe. Yet, no matter how packed his agenda became, the resonance of Maya's voice lingered in his thoughts. It appears that you are not particularly impressed. What if it does? He revisited that line more often than he would like to acknowledge. It wasn't merely the words that mattered, but rather the way she expressed them. Serene yet demanding, as if accustomed to being perceived rather than truly understood. On Wednesday afternoon, as he was in the process of replacing a malfunctioning junction box in a downtown duplex, he felt his phone buzz in his back pocket. He brushed the sweat from his forehead and examined it. Maya, are you available this Friday evening? His response arrived sooner than anticipated. What is the strategy moving forward? Maya, would you like to join me for dinner? My space is quite simple. Malick, would you prefer that I bring tools or wine? Maya, simply come as you are. It might be best to avoid wearing the boots. He smirked. It was too late. They were already in motion. As Friday arrived, so did the anticipation and unease. Malick positioned himself before her front door. The wood panel maintains its sleek design, complemented by the brushed nickel handle. However, on this occasion, it no longer felt like work. This time, he was not present to address an issue. He pressed the doorbell. The door creaked open, revealing her presence. Tyrone Jackson donned a cozy cardigan and leggings. Her feet bare, with her hair casually pinned back. Simply her, devoid of makeup and designer allure. "Greetings," she remarked. "Good evening," Malick replied, presenting a simple brown bag. "I brought some store-bought honey cornbread. However, I heated it up. That is undoubtedly the most quintessentially Southern remark I've encountered this week. Please enter." The aroma of roasted rosemary and garlic filled the house. Emphasizing warmth over wealth, Malick entered and trailed behind her into the kitchen. 2 plates were elegantly arranged at the island, with candles softly glowing. A gentle R&B playlist softly filled the background. "I hope you enjoy salmon," she remarked, placing a tray adorned with glazed fillets and roasted vegetables on the table. "I have a preference for food prepared by others. So the answer is yes." They dined at a leisurely pace, engaging in open conversation, employment, early years, amusing neighbors, unfortunate romantic encounters. Malick recounted the experience of being trapped under a crawlspace for 3 hours in July. She burst into laughter so intensely that she ended up choking on a piece of asparagus. At one moment, she propped her elbow on the counter, her chin resting thoughtfully on her palm. "Your subtle presence speaks volumes." Malick arched an eyebrow. "Is that intended as a compliment?" "Indeed, it is. Presence should never be forced. It is simply yours." At a loss for words, he chose to remain silent. Yet, an unsettling sensation began to awaken within his chest. Following dinner, they transitioned to the living room. Maya nestled into the corner of her spacious couch. Malick positioned himself at the far end, uncertain of the regulations, questioning whether any existed at all. She glanced over. "There's no need for formality. I was not brought up to be disrespectful in a woman's home." She let out an exasperated sigh, her eyes rolling in response. "It is perfectly acceptable for you to feel at ease, particularly in this environment." That was the moment of transformation. For the first time, the distance between them no longer felt like mere air. It resembled the force of gravity. She spoke, delicately interrupting the moment. "Have you ever contemplated what others might be saying about us? Are we involved? You, I, this." She gestured around the room, her movements ambiguous yet filled with meaning. Malick released a slow, measured breath. "It is likely a significant amount. Most likely, none of it is favorable." Maya nodded, her gaze directed toward the window. "The noise of my world is overwhelming. Not only in quantity, but also in sound, visuals, perceptions, anticipations. One does not simply pass through it without drawing attention." Malick stated that he does not have that intention. "However, I do not seek approval." She cast a glance back at him. "That is what instills fear in them." He maintained her gaze. "How about you?" "I am not easily frightened." Later that evening, she accompanied him to the door. There was neither a kiss nor a lingering touch. A serene moment experienced under the glow of the porch light. "Thank you for coming," she remarked. "I appreciate the meal." As he descended the front steps, she remarked, "You still owe me sandwiches." He cast a quick look over his shoulder. "In the future, I will take the extra step to toast them." With a gentle smile, she gradually shut the door behind her. The following morning, Malick found himself seated at a quaint diner in close proximity to his apartment. A handful of familiar faces acknowledged his entrance with a nod. He settled into a chair by the window, requested a cup of black coffee and a side of grits, and began to browse his phone. A photo sent by Maya illuminated the screen. The image depicted a sandwich, rendered in crayon, exuding a whimsical and naive charm that was both endearing and amusing. The caption stated, "Visual inspiration. Ensure accuracy." He chuckled softly into his coffee. As the waitress filled his cup, a man seated in the booth behind him leaned in and whispered, his voice carrying just a bit too far, "Isn't that the individual associated with the affluent white woman on Instagram?" Malick tensed. Yet another perspective, a light-hearted laugh. "He is merely her project." He remained facing away, remained silent. However, he sensed it, the transition, the unseen boundary, the acknowledgement that not all were in support of them. He tucked his phone away into his pocket and gazed out the window. suddenly uncertain whether the warmth he experienced the previous night could endure the cold that awaited outside. Monday arrived as it consistently does. Early, boisterous, and unyielding, Malick immersed himself in his work, transitioning seamlessly from one task to another as if it were essential for his very existence. A brief incident occurred in a kitchen panel in Matthews, a malfunctioning breaker in Dilworth. An unusual humming sound emanates from an aged Baptist church located along Beatties Ford Road. Every pause served as a distraction from contemplation. Every task served as a diversion from the persistent voice resonating in the recesses of his mind. He is merely her undertaking. The most painful aspect wasn't the words themselves. The tone was the defining factor. The premise, the effortless manner in which strangers had concluded he was unfit for her sphere. On Tuesday morning, his supervisor at Carter & Sons Electric took him aside prior to dispatch. "Malick," he stated, crossing his arms, "do you have any insight into why the Simons account decided to withdraw?" Malick blinked slowly. "I regret to inform you, sir, that I have not engaged with that property in several weeks. Indeed, there was a discussion regarding public perception. They mentioned having seen something online. Is there something you would like to share with me?" The inquiry wasn't harsh, merely prudent, yet it still stung. "No," Malick replied, his jaw tightening. "I have solely focused on my professional responsibilities." The supervisor acknowledged with a nod. "Understood. Let's maintain the current approach." On that particular night, Malick found himself unable to sleep. He perched on the edge of his bed, phone in hand, his thumb poised above Maya's contact. He had the opportunity to share with her details regarding the account, regarding the comments, concerning the heaviness gradually returning to his chest. However, he did not. It is not available at this time. On Wednesday evening, it was Maya who made the first call to him. "Are you available?" she inquired, her tone soft yet inviting. "Provide a definition for the term, free." "Here I am, in my driveway, holding 2 milkshakes, yet lacking a companion to enjoy them with." He couldn't help but smile. "You intentionally purchased 2, didn't you?" "No comment. Would you like to come over?" "I will arrive in 15 minutes. Upon his arrival, she was perched on the front steps, her legs folded beneath her, leisurely sipping from a paper cup adorned with a swirl of whipped cream on top. She passed him the other one. She mentioned chocolate peanut butter. "I assumed you would prefer something classic." He took a seat next to her, graciously accepting the cup. "You were correct." They sat in quietude for several moments, attuned to the sound of the wind whistling through the trees that bordered her yard. However, Maya then made a shift. "I need to ask you something," she said, avoiding his gaze. Malick gave a slow nod. "Understood. Has anyone mentioned anything to you?" He paused momentarily. "What is the reason behind this?" "A change has occurred. You remain present. Yet, a part of you hesitates." He gazed thoughtfully at the milkshake cradled in his hands. "I overheard a conversation at a diner. A gentleman referred to me as your project." Maya released a deep, measured breath. "I apologize. There is no need to offer apologies for the opinions of others. I take action when they attribute it to me." He finally directed his gaze toward her. "It is not your responsibility that I do not conform to their expectations. You fit into mine," she said, her voice resolute. "That is the sole one that holds my interest." A moment lingered, followed by another. Malick expressed that he has lost a client. The estate of Simon withdrew following the posting of that video featuring us. Maya tensed up. "Which video are you referring to?" "A photograph was captured of us at the park. It seems to have circulated widely." Less than text. Frustration escaped her lips as she stood up and began to pace a few steps. "I am quite frustrated with this situation." "What are you feeling fed up with?" "It is concerning when individuals presume they have the authority to dictate what is deemed acceptable, including whom I can associate with and who you are allowed to be. It is quite draining." Malick rose to his feet with deliberate slowness. "Perhaps it's time for us to take a break." The words struck the air with the force of a punch. Maya pivoted. "Could you please clarify?" "Not from one another, merely from the clamor. Do you believe that will be beneficial?" "I feel as though without taking a breath, I might suffocate." She fixed her gaze upon him. Her eyes held no plea. They refrained from pleading. However, they did cause pain. Very well, she replied gently. If that is what you require. It is not permanent. I understand. In quietude, they remained, two individuals suspended in the delicate balance of concern and restraint. With a graceful movement, Maya stepped forward and rested her palm softly against his chest. Malick Carter, you are not a project. I understand. You are not small. You are not a fleeting presence. You are neither a symbol nor a rebellion. Nor are you a mistake. He gazed at her, his eyes shimmering with a glassy sheen. Why does it seem as though I am constantly striving to validate that? She remained silent, not through words. She gently leaned in, resting her forehead against his. In that fleeting moment, neither of them made a move. As he departed that evening, the porch light remained illuminated for an extended period. More than what was customary. Malick was aware. The true conflict was yet to unfold. On that Thursday afternoon, rain descended steadily, enveloping Charlotte's streets in a shimmering layer of silver. From the driver's seat of his pickup, Malick observed the droplets as they raced down the windshield. Stationed outside his apartment, the wipers were still, and the engine was silent. He remained still for 15 minutes. A week had passed since the milkshake incident on Maya's porch. It has been 5 days since he requested some distance. 4 nights of restless sleep. 3 missed calls from her. And 1 persistent feeling of regret. The stillness had not ushered in tranquility, but rather a profound understanding. He felt her absence keenly, longing for the way she pronounced his name, as if it held significance beyond just 5 letters. She longed for the moments when she saw beyond his uniform, connecting with the man hidden within, longing for the experience of being truly acknowledged, rather than merely observed. Malick extended his hand towards his phone. He failed to make the call. He did not send a text message. He operated the vehicle. Maya's house appeared unchanged, a spacious porch adorned with warm lighting, where wind chimes gently sway at the eaves. However, there was an unsettling sense of quiet, a stillness that felt unusual. Silence envelops the space, no melodies drift through the windows, and no shadows dance behind the curtains. He hesitated for a moment, but ultimately decided to knock. Several seconds elapsed before the door swung open. Maya stood there, clad in an oversized hoodie with the sleeves rolled up to her elbows, a paint smudge adorning her wrist. Her expression held no surprise, merely a softness that spoke of weariness and resignation. "Greetings," he remarked. "Hello, I happen to be in the vicinity." She raised an eyebrow. "Your origin is traced back to 4th Street." He offered a shy smile. "Indeed, I was not truthful. I was not." She moved to the side. "Are you planning to come in? Or are you just checking the humidity levels?" The air was infused with the distinct aromas of acrylic and coffee. Canvases were propped against the wall. One rested on the easel, partially completed. A tempest of blues and charcoal, reminiscent of the ocean engulfing an urban landscape. "Is it yours?" Malick inquired, gesturing toward it with a nod. "Therapeutic intervention." He approached with measured steps. "Do you have any plans to showcase these? These numbers are exclusively for my use." Malick examined the strokes, characterized by their aggression, chaos, and authenticity. It appears as though they have been anticipating their existence for quite some time. Maya remained silent. Instead, she positioned herself on the floor next to the window, drawing her knees close to her chest. "At the age of 14, a teacher recognized my talent and advised me against squandering it on urban angst." That was her statement. Urban Malick positioned himself across from her. "A guidance counselor once advised me to pursue a career as an electrician, suggesting that college might lead to frustration for me." They shared a laugh. Yet it felt empty. "I didn't come here to revisit the past," Malick said quietly. "What prompted your arrival?" He paused momentarily. "I refuse to be someone who turns their back when faced with challenges. I have come to understand that this is not merely noise." Maya inclined her head thoughtfully. "What exactly is it?" "It is indeed genuine. Additionally, it is uncommon. And utterly frightening." A moment of stillness. She then whispered, "Likewise." They lingered in the soft glow of the dim light. as the rain from the city softly tapped against the windows. At last, Maya spoke up. There's something I need to show you. She approached the bookshelf, retrieved a slender folder, and presented it to him. Within the confines, there lay a collection of printed documents, primarily screenshots, comments on social media, articles for the blog. Several of them featured images of Malick and Maya enjoying their time at the park. There were additional images of him taken outside her residence, albeit in a cropped format. He turned the pages deliberately. There were instances of mockery. Some displayed a lack of compassion. All were intrusive. I didn't want to reveal this to you earlier, she remarked. You were already bearing a significant load. Malick shut the folder with a decisive motion. What is the duration of this occurrence? Since the park opened. At the party we attended. Someone acknowledged you. What about the remainder? Spiraled. His jaw tightened. Your location is known to them. She gave a nod of acknowledgement. The cameras have been upgraded. Security company available on call. You ought to have informed me. I aim to avoid causing any alarm. Do you believe I am easily frightened? She cast him a glance. You requested some distance. Malick, I believed you had left. He let out a breath. His gaze fixed on his hands. I believed that space would serve as our shield. However, it only served to highlight that there is no secure distance from this situation or from them. Maya concurred. However, there is power in proximity. He gazed at her, his eyes unwavering. I have arrived. I am not concealing myself. She approached with intent. Seated next to him, their knees gently touched. I can't guarantee that it will become easier, she remarked. I prefer not to take the easier route. I seek the truth. What is your vision for its appearance? He paused to reflect. I aspire to create something remarkable. Are you with me? Are you with us? She extended her hand, her fingers weaving together with his. Let's begin immediately. That evening, they settled next to each other on the couch, observing the tempest beyond the window. Silence prevails. There is no wine available. Only silence prevails. Distributed, not endured. Maya leaned her head gently against his shoulder. Throughout my life, I've received a multitude of labels. What do you think? Excessively daring. The temperature is quite low. Excessive. He pressed his lips gently against her temple. They overlooked the finest option. What is that? Yours sincerely. She offered a smile. Gentle. Absolutely.